Hey, everybody. Good morning to American friends. Good evening to European friends. Good night to Asian friends, oceanic friends. Family in town, busy, busy Christmas season, but I'll try to do a brief overview of where I see that we are. Couple big drop days. Let's go back and focus on revenue for Bitcoin, okay? So, price to sales ratio. I've talked about this a lot. This is a multiple, all right, what this black dotted black line is, not the price, but the multiple is the market cap divided by the revenue that miners make on a trailing 12-month basis. All right. If you put that together, you'll get this multiple. And you can run percentiles on it, or we can do quantiles, which are different, smoother, look nicer. But these are on percentiles. And we can see if we're over or undervalued relative to the trend. Trend is here. And we can go up, we can go down. What we want to see, though, if we would see a blow off top, would be something like this. All right, over the 9, over the 9. Let's layer in the price so you can see what was happening there. Of course, this was 2017, 2021. All right. I think I just pointed to 2019, but that was the little respite boom there. 2021, 2017. And of course, in 2013, same thing happened. Now, what's interesting is the multiple itself does grow on a trend. There's the trend of the multiple itself. Right? And we're all kind of converging at the trend at the moment. Does that mean that we'll go through the trend and go down? Or will we reverse and bounce back? These are harder markets to read than the old days, right? This is, if you go back to my account, you'll see I posted almost to the day a price to sales ratio right there. If you go back to this day in 2017, really looked like a blow off top. Here, similar. Here, we've rolled over, all right? But are we going down, or is it still part of a secular bull? These lines, all these lines on the chart have nothing to do with this directly, right? So the lines are all oriented to the multiple itself. We can pretty much rule that out. Taking the extremes in this case, right? Just taking the extremes would leave us this. But it's very difficult to call if we're going to go, back and test, say, an old low here. which would just be a down market for everybody for a couple years. Or if we never had this blow off top, so therefore we never have the major crash, are we still in some sort of a secular bull? Obviously, everybody wants to know this, including myself. Let's put the price back on. The bullishness of the Bitcoin community, I think, never fades. But we're going to have to see more of how the institutional community will react to these dynamics. It's a tough one. For me, it's a tough one, looking at a lot of these different indicators. Let's just go quickly to the quantile now. Nice, smooth quantile regression. You know, if you look here, this is just running the multiples, or not the multiples, the quantiles right on the price. Then it seems, you know, seems like we spend most of the time in this rainbow. This actually isn't updated from a couple days ago, but it's actually slightly below the 30 now, right? Where are we as I record this or stream this? 87.6. So we're below the 30. You know, by definition, this is 30% of the time. Would be below this sort of rainbow. I'm leaning towards, you know, we continue on in this sort of close to the power curve, the main OLS power law, and not moving into some sort of a secular bear. But it's hard to call. Let me show you the revenue now for miners. We're getting a clear rollover on the, not only the yearly figure, which you can see here, right? So you rolled over there and rolled over here, but also on the monthly. Okay. Let's stick with the monthly first. The monthly, all right, so this is a rolling figure. It's very easy to sort of see kind of a top call here. And then here it's not exactly a top call, but it follows the double top. And then here it just gets kind of weird, right? It's lower than it was a year and a half ago. All right, miners on average are making $1.2 billion a month with new coins and fees, whereas a year and a half ago, during the halving, with all the fee madness of trying to get into that halving block and ordinals being a part of Bitcoin, people overpaying for inscriptions, we're at $2 billion a month. So you could say that seems bearish. But let's smooth this out and go to the yearly. All right, yearly. Let's even take off the month. We got the price overlaid here. Rolling over does not necessarily mean that, you know, we go into a bear, right? This rolled over after the halving. You see the halving just sawed it off amazingly, and then it went down and then went back up. Doesn't mean we're destined for a secular bear here. And I still think this is one of the best charts to show that we've broken the 4-year cycle and we're moving just sort of more along the power curve, because this annual revenue is the same as it was 3 years ago, about $17 billion. So I think that there's plenty of room to grow according to the cycles are dead theory. Now, if the cycles are not dead and we're just in some sort of a weird cycle here, which was started earlier with the approval of ETFs and Wall Street getting involved, and going to roll over still and then go down into sort of a deeper bear, could happen. This is where it becomes much harder to call than a few years ago. Where's the 20th? Here's the 20th. You know, if you look at the 20th percentile quantile, it was not there long during the last cycle. June 2022 through the end of that hilarious year for some, not for others, into the start of 2023. You could say this is when things were unreasonably cheap for miners, though they were making unreasonably a little amount of revenue, but relative to where they had been and relative to Bitcoin's value. Now they're close to trend. Just, of course, everybody wants to know where we go after the trend. After the short term. Again, it's always never financial advice here on this show, but by default, I'm long Bitcoin, so I believe it's. I think we're going to continue in this channel for a while. That is here, 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 something like this. It's more about finding confidence, right? One could say we're still at a relative, from this perspective, kind of fair value. From this perspective, cheap. And from this perspective, which is Bitcoin gold, super cheap. So if you have gold, I really have a hard time seeing Bitcoin go much cheaper than this, although it actually has compared to the last 2 days from when I drew this chart. That's not what I wanted to show. I wanted to show this one. The old revenue production chart. Let's take off the 30 days. Let's take all these off. Oil market can be volatile, but gigantic, trillions of dollars a year. Gold miners are having a lot of fun, moving close to $400 billion a year. Bitcoin's still lagging way multiples behind at $17 billion a year. If you want to look at that a little bit more reactive, 30-day. Here it is. Oil can do hundreds of $billions a month, which gold bugs will be happy about in a year. And certainly Bitcoiners will be happy about in a year, Bitcoin miners. And there we see it's even falling. On chain, super good deal. If you need to do anything or you have some need to move funds or clean up your UTXOs, it's a good time. Barely any fees as a percentage. And I'm not showing the daily averages, but it's self-evident here with this chart. And usually tops have come during major fee spikes. I've been getting a lot of comments about how people want to see or have the ability to see these charts. And I'm happy to report have some good progress with this. Not before the year ends, but I think shortly after the new year, there should be a good opportunity for people to get some more quality data on my site. So you can look forward to that. But in the meantime, just keep letting me know what you would like charted. And I'm happy to help bring that to you. Sorry for the dead time. These, again, these should still give you a lot of comfort at the end of the day. All right, so 96% R squared. It's a beautiful curve that no financial asset really follows. And it makes sense that it's growing this way. So even though you get sideways news headlines every single minute now on social media, we have sort of an anchor in how to look at the adoption of Bitcoin relative to other assets. You could count me as the first person to be surprised that we are not having as many days recently above this power curve. All right? Because again, every day we're above it, we pull it higher. At the same time, we have some room, at least if this is some indication of something, something good for Bitcoin. We are not at the all-time low. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Fairly early for you, right? 7 in the morning? 10 hours or 9 hours? Difference from me. Glad to hear you're not sick. Colds in the winter have been getting me worse. I don't know. In recent years. Why is this one taking so long? I'm trying to pull up something for you. Here we go. All right, this is another, again, one to provide comfort. So here in the early years, you don't see as many projections. It would be good if we saw numbers here, but they're out of sight, too high. If we back it out, and again, you can see what the power trend, roughly the sort of, it's not the correct word, but kind of the tangent we look at the time is this number 1. So here's the all-time, where we are today with all the data. And here's sort of how it was at the time. So as it was figuring itself out, if you followed Trolololo as I did back in 2014, he was doing this on a logarithmic curve, not a power. It was sort of sorting itself out. But from about 2016, notice how we're always hugging this curve. In fact, a little bit up above it now. Not now, but in the past 10 years, you could say. That is, we always get pulled up a little bit and then pulled back down. Now we're in a situation where, somewhat unique maybe. We're going to start to, this dotted black line, maybe even at some point will go slightly lower because it's just very aggressive. Aggressive is the wrong word. It's not as explosive booms to the upside, right? You can see the explosive booms pull up this evolving curve. We haven't had that, right? We haven't had that this cycle at all. But here's the important but is if that was a bad thing, or if people thought that the power curve was somehow going to like explode to the downside, which it shows no sign of doing, we would be hitting an all-time low, and we're not even there yet. All-time lows would be when this blue line, which projects till today at any given point, is below today's power curve. So today's power curve is 123,000. 123,000 per Bitcoin. And if we go back, you can see we've always had actually more aggressive indicators, which at some point you don't want it too aggressive like here because then it's not accurate. But these are still pretty close, right? Bitcoin could be any one of these prices, 160, 70, 150, 120, 122. But the lowest that it's ever been, the lowest was painted in May 2017. After this big, long crypto winter, as they called it at the time. Right there. So at that point, in May 2017, the power curve projected today's power law value at $116,000. So the point is, it's kind of weird to wrap your head around that, but it's saying That's the most pessimistic the curve has ever been. And we're not there yet. We could get there. We could set in, say, a new low in the slope of the power curve, but we have not done that yet. So that's another, again, I think a data point just to keep some proportion around where we are. We still have a healthy $7,000 buffer between today's curve, which is 123,000, and sort of the worst we ever painted, which is 116,000. Okay. Well, regardless, that's 9-hour difference from me. So you're starting your day, or if you worked overnight, finishing, I guess. It's going to be, it's pub 30 for the young folks here in the Baltics, just past 5. More power to you. My wife's a doctor, so I highly respect the work. Um, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, if you look at what Plan C has been doing, you check his account. He was trying to match the top quantiles, right? So he would decay this a little bit more. I'm not doing that. I'm just straight up running power regressions, quantile power regressions on each one, and so each curve here is a slightly different slope. It's not when I do this. When I do this, this is on the multiples, which will give you this sort of even view, which it's not as statistically significant probably as this one. But he tries to do it even more aggressive, where he sort of, you can build an oscillator by picking this point. And Sminston With has also done that. I'm not as interested in fine tuning those models. I know that, that's kind of, it's interesting, but I'm more interested in trying to compare this stuff with other long-term metrics, like gold or the stock market or whatever, and not necessarily trying to fine-tune one chart like the dollar chart. Anyway, hopefully that'll become more clear as I will release more data to you guys on my website. She's in pediatrics. Very important work for anybody in the medical field. So much respect to you, especially for working the hours that you're working. So I mean, you're in radiology? Yes, indeed. Let me see one thing here. Wow. Good for you, man. I knew you'd been around, but I guess I forgot that you're a true OG. 2011 for me, but didn't pull the trigger with the check to empty Gox. Ah, it's incredible. You can see it on this chart. I mean, my data is pretty thin there, but it's extrapolated between Bitcoin Pizza Day and Slashdot. But there it is. This is the first slash dotting right there. I brought Jeff Garzik in. A lot of developers came in at this point. For those that are unaware of some of the old Bitcoin history. Do you ever mine a block? Did you get a full block? I assume yes. With your CPU? I presume. Because, I mean, the GPUs started up pretty soon after this point, no? Incredible. Incredible. Well, congrats to you. Very glad to hear these stories. Yes, indeed. Hello, Bitcoin Polska. Amazing. Amazing. Well, I'm honored that you'll tune in to me, even though I'm not as much of an OG as, you know, some of these folks. Although I guess I'm getting up there compared to some of these YouTubers. Yeah, please do, man. I would love to meet, and you have great Bitcoiners out here. It's a border of the European Union as well. That's funny. That's funny. I think from this perspective, though, too, we're all early, I guess. We really are. Again, zooming out, which I'm trying to do. I do think about this a lot. Like, the. What was I thinking about the other day? Of course, about peace in Europe. But it's around the length of time of the Iron Curtain was like 45 years, right? 1989, from 1945 1989. It's around my age, close to that. So we're now at a point of basically, my lifetime is, I'm older than the 10 more years basically, and we'll be at the same distance of the length of the Cold War, which is wild, and we're falling back into it. So this is what I think about all the time, and I know you guys are thinking about it in Poland as well. So I'm also trying to think about how Bitcoin's going to affect that new system, which we're going to start to come into pretty hard here, I think, in the next few years, depending on what China does, depending on what Russia does, and Europe reacts to Russia. But in any event, I mean, just look at these prices on the curve 5 years out from now, which I'm pretty confident in. You know, 2020, a 2020 entrance is early. And that's true. Youth, we can never, Warren Buffett is a trade he can never make. Is for more years. Besides, of course, the crazy things you might be able to do with cryo surgery or organ replacement or something crazy like that. Man, don't put it this way. Don't put it this way. We are living longer. We are living longer. Lifespans compared to 100 years ago, even, I think, are quite a bit longer now. Yeah. Gratitude is key. I would say gratitude is key here. No matter what some YouTube thumbnail is going to tell you. All right. And even if we go back, as I started my video out, like it's hard to read this market, but even when we go back to this period, max a year. I think max a year and a half. Like, look at that. Roughly speaking, if you want to, if you want to loathe not just downward prices but low prices, right? Summer 2022 to year end 2023. 18 months. But even in the lowest quantiles, much less. It all depends on your perspective. Hmm. I think we're going to have major transformations, like in the next few years, with the AI revolution. Which again, I don't want to get into all the ins and outs of it, but I do think you're going to see major cost savings in certain areas, but then also just complete wheels falling off in other parts of the economy, and not just in the U.S., like everywhere. Plus, you got, people are militarizing again. Yeah, it's a lot of school. It's a lot of school. How do you feel AI is going to affect the medical field? You think it's going to play a part? I'm excited to show you guys, which again, it's going to take a couple weeks, maybe a month, but I want to give you the ability to sort of see a lot of these growth rates on the fly. And it is wild that, say, from this period here, right when ChatGPT came out, here actually, start of 2023, we had gold and tech stocks way outperforming Bitcoin, or about at the level of what Bitcoin did. Because as I always say, if you time it from the low point, it's hard to see Bitcoin ever getting this cheap again, in terms of gold, at 9 ounces. My opinion. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about this a lot right now, just so you guys know. Like, I'm always been fascinated by. I mean, I crunch numbers a lot. You know, charts was my main job for many, many years, and making pro formas and spreadsheets and little macros. But I'm getting a lot of help now with coding for my setup, and it's wild. I mean, I'm able to do in weeks what I really. There was a time where I was paying coders more, and it would take them a year, literally, back and forth calls and I mean, this whole chart engine you're looking at right here came out pre AI. This is JavaScript, and it came out. Uh, I know JavaScript's not like AI can code in many languages, but I launched this little thing or started really playing around with it end of 2022, ironically, just before AI. So I'm thinking about what I've done, people I've talked to, and then having something like Claude Code help, which is what I'm using, but you can use other AIs, and it's unbelievable. And then I'm thinking about, okay, well, I can offer this for my viewers at a pretty cheap price. There's still a lot of costs. Like I have costs for data and other things, but Bloomberg terminals, which are like the gold standard. That used to be like a few $1,000s a month at least for a terminal license. $25,000 a year, $30,000 a year, maybe some deals for corporates, but that's going to come way down, because you can program a lot of it yourself with not even you need to hire a coder. Depends on what you want to do, of course. Bloomberg still would be the gold standard, but it's super expensive. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, I mean, just one example of what I'm doing. And even, like I said, what you're looking at right now, I think I'll bring something better, more scalable quite soon. And it did not take me years to develop like this thing did with the help of a developer. So it's pretty wild. And it also is the thing, like you guys are saying, you do need expertise, right? Like it sort of, I don't know how important it is, but the sum total of someone's experience of understanding markets and what returns are and good returns, bad returns, and what you want to see. But and I imagine that's more big a deal for like doctors and diseases and treatment. But yeah, I mean, if 80% of that work can be automated, that's going to be wild. One thing I saw Zuckerberg say in an interview is, yeah, that's kind of interesting. You just try to get it back to the value it once was. I saw Zuckerberg talk about this on one of the Silicon Valley podcasts. Uh, how they may, interestingly, get back to more human customer service because AI can handle 80 to 90% of the work. So then you start getting humans back for the more complicated things. Or I don't know how true that is and how applicable that is across industries where you may have new jobs, new new uh, new opportunities for humans to step in because everything else has been, the grunt work has been automated, so you can augment. But probably some of that is true. I mean, it's like Ray Kurzweil said, the transcendent man, right? You can start pushing the boundaries, augmenting your abilities further. Might be scary to some people, but the youth is always going to figure it out quite easily. Anyway, good philosophizing about AI here. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. uh, I hear my daughter's home, so I'm going to have to step out soon. But let me just check a couple things. Yeah, I think I might actually cut it early here, guys. Holidays. I'll try to come back tomorrow in the morning. But yeah, rolling over. Interestingly, not just on price, but on these other indicators like this revenue and on the multiple that revenue is to market cap, quite a bit lower. My advice, as always, is to back it up, relax, take comfort in the power curve. I know you've heard me say that a billion times for the uh, long time listeners. I appreciate it, but the hodling mantra is a great mantra. Thank you. Should I call you Name Goes? Name Goes here. I can imagine it's pretty crazy. Uh, I'd like to talk to you more about it though, even on stream about costs. I got my own opinions of that as well with a family member in healthcare and seeing things in Europe versus the U.S. Uh, and yeah, the power curve does make hodling easier, but that I still remember the old the hodler's post from November 2013, something like that. November December 2013 is they can't take your money until you sell. Now, of course, nothing's guaranteed in this life, but the mode of the power law is below this line, right? If these little rainbow lines are closer together, not that one, but they're closer together down here, not up here. So we're just, we're in normal territory. Yeah, we might bounce below it for a while, but we're still in normal territory. All right. So I would think about it that way. very much, very much true. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, American friends, North and South. And good luck with the rest of your shift at the hospital. Bitcoin Polska, have a good one. Thank you guys for the interaction. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.